Hi, Leela Bryan here, and that's a picture of me, and I live in near San Francisco on a floating home. I've been teaching people how to quit smoking and chewing ever since I quit in 1978. I teach people how to quit without drugs, side effects, or gaining weight with a behavioral program called Nicotine Solutions. I've written a book called Quit Smoking, Got Side Effects, and it's for mainly people that have quit smoking cold turkey who are dealing with side effects. A big red flag comes up to me when I hear someone say, I am giving up smoking, rather than say, I'm getting rid of it, or I gave up smoking. Now, on the surface, it doesn't seem like a big deal to say, I'm giving up or I quit smoking. However, let's say that you had a big bag of smelly garbage that had kitty litter and had been sitting out in the sun, and you were finally able to throw away this bag of garbage. You wouldn't say, I gave up the garbage. No, you would say, I got rid of it, I kicked it to the curb, I no longer have that garbage. And why would you say that? Because the garbage was not precious to you or important to you. So you wouldn't be giving up anything, you'd be getting rid of it. When you give up something that is important to you, will you get it back? Yeah, because it's important to you. So from now on, when you are referring to quitting smoking or saying that you're in the process of quitting smoking, don't say that you gave up smoking. You are not giving up anything. You are getting rid of one of the most slavish, abusive, expensive habits that you've ever had. And there are other words to avoid as well. There's the saying, that I'm giving up. You don't want to say that. Also, there's what I call punch words. And you want to not say craving, urge, need, or want. Now, on the outside of your brain, when you say it, these words sound, they sound just fine. However, on the inside of your brain, they sound really sinister, booming, evil, and it's controlling voice, and it makes you do things that you really don't want to do. It sounds kind of like craving, urge, need, desire. And what it does is it throws you around like you're a rag doll, and it takes away all your control. So, what can you do about being controlled by punch words? Well, first of all, you need to stop using the words like urge, craving, giving up, need, desire, and want. And then what you do is you substitute instead, I had a thought. So thoughts don't grab you and shake you and control you and throw you on the ceiling and then drop you on the floor. You can say, I had a thought of a cigarette. So when you first change your smoking habit, a thought about having a cigarette might come unexpectedly. Remember, it's just a thought and it only lasts a couple seconds. So if you aren't going to use punch words, then what do you do when the thought comes? So if I tell you, now don't think of pink elephants, what are you going to think about? Yep, pink elephants, because when your brain is, when you're saying don't do this, then your brain is, that's what you're thinking. So when you're dealing with quitting smoking and you tell yourself, Don't think of smoking. Don't think of cigarettes. What are you thinking about all the time? Now, when I quit, I remember sitting down and trying to figure out this phenomenon because I didn't want to keep thinking about cigarettes, but I didn't know how to deal with the thoughts when they came because they did kind of seem like they were an urge or a craving or a desire or a need or a want, and like I was giving up something. So, your thoughts, and because your thoughts are really random, so think of your thoughts as a butterfly and how it flits around. A butterfly is not predictable, and the patterns are random, just like your thoughts. You don't know when you're going to have a thought of a cigarette. So let's say the butterfly lands, and that's the equivalent of the thought of a cigarette. What should you do when you have the thought of a cigarette? So you can acknowledge it, and you can say, yes, I had the thought of a cigarette, and you don't beat yourself up, and you don't say, oh, this is the most terrible thing in the world, I had the thought of a cigarette, because I can't give you a lobotomy, I can't change the way you think, and I don't know, and you don't know, when the thought of a cigarette is going to occur. I remember that 10 years after I quit smoking, I went to my college reunion. And I smoked in college, and I went to the TAV and with my friend, and we walked into the TAV, and that's where I did my drinking and my smoking. And the minute I walked in, I'd been a non-smoker for 10 years and been teaching it, and with nicotine solutions, and all of a sudden I walk in and I have the thought of a cigarette, and which is, I laughed and I said, haha, yes, okay. So I acknowledge it. Yes, I did have the thought. And then you ignore it. Well, what happens to anyone or anything or a plant or a garden that you totally ignore? Well, it either dies or it goes away. So what you do is you acknowledge it, the thought, and then you laugh at it and kind of make fun of it, and then you ignore it. So when the thought shows up, acknowledge that you had the thought because you did, and you can't change that, and then ignore it or laugh at it. So your assignment is to be aware of the words that you use about the process of quitting smoking. And you don't have to have quit to use this process. You just can say, I'm in the process of quitting, because I really actually don't recommend anybody to quit cold turkey because it's really hard on the mind and the body. It takes 21 to 42 days to make or break a habit. If you want to check out my program, that's how I teach people how to quit. And it's called Nicotine Solutions, or you can go to thequitqueen.com. It's at both locations. The Quit Queen is easier to think about. However, if you've quit and you never want to go back to smoking, then your assignment is don't use the words craving, urge, need, desire, want, and instead say, I had a thought, and remember that you are quitting smoking, or you're in the process of quitting smoking. You are not giving up anything. You are trading a slavish, expensive habit for your freedom.